Dan Hinz, and I'm here tonight to talk about how small teams can solve big problems in 6 steps. And what I mean, has anyone been in a committee meeting or a board meeting where you talk for 2 hours and you're trying to solve a problem? And you talk in circles. You talk about an idea, maybe a solution on this has happened, that happened. And by the end of it, nothing really happened. You don't have a plan. You have a lot of great ideas, but nothing really happened, and everyone leaves just kind of finding, well, we talked about stuff, I guess. Well, I've got a 6-step system that you can walk through to help get a plan to focus. To get everyone on board as well. So what do I mean by small teams? I mean 4 to 5 people. This is not for Congress, because when you get small teams, you've got a lot of good ideas, but luckily not a lot of opinions, so it helps with that. And what do I mean by big problems? What I mean is strategic problems. I'm not talking about, oh, we need a new roofer, let's find the cheapest guy. No, this is talking about increasing market share to increasing customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction, something that really isn't obvious. So I'll go through the 6 steps, but first, this isn't really my day job. So what is it that makes me kind of an expert on this subject? Well, I've been using for about 15 years. When I was in 5th grade, I was part of a competition called Future Problem Solving. And with future problem solving, it's across the world, it's a competition where you get one piece of paper. It's a scenario. You're in space, you're underwater, you're dealing with nanotechnology, and you get 2 hours to walk through these 6 steps and try to find the best solution for that particular scenario. And so from 5th grade all the way through high school, I competed, and the team I was on, we made it to the international competition 3 times. And when I mean international, I don't mean just some Canadians showed up. I mean is that New Zealanders, Australians, South America, Europe, it was an international competition. And of those 3 times, we didn't place once, we got 10th, and then at some point in time, I was 5th in the world using this system. So the 6 steps I know pretty well. But that's all great and well for junior high kids and high schoolers in an academic competition. What about getting more towards the real world? Well, flash forward to college. I went to Iowa State University, got my electrical engineering degree, as well as my MBA. And for those of you who don't know the sport of MBAs, it happens to be case competitions. And rather than 1 page, you get 30 pages, a whole case about a company, their marketing, their history, their products, their finances, and you get 24 hours as a team to look through it, try to find out their biggest problem, come up with a solution, and create a presentation and deliver it to judges. During my MBA program, of the 2 years I was there, I was in 5 competitions. Of those 5, there was 1 we didn't place. I got 3rd, 2nd, and then 2 first place wins with my team. And being from Iowa State, that was in the Big 12 case competition, when the Big 12 actually had 12 teams. With that, those 2 years we got first. So I like to say I graduated undefeated in the Big 12. So thank you everybody. And we use these, thank you. We still use these 6 same steps kind of in a less formal fashion, but I want to go ahead and go through these 6 steps. And rather than just talk about them, I'm going to need audience participation. And so I cleared it with the IdeaCamp committee. Our scenario tonight that we are going to try to solve is how to improve IdeaCamp. Now, I know the best solution is bring beer. We already all know that. But let's try to walk through this. So our scenario is to improve IdeaCamp. And step 1 is we need to talk about our challenges. What, on a monthly basis, do we encounter with IdeaCamp? And I'll start it off by saying locations. We need to have it somewhere. But out there in the audience, what's another challenge that we might run into, or things that we have to deal with IdeaCamp? I see a lot. What was that? Attendance. Wonderful. All right, we need people to get here. And this is brainstorming, so I'm not going to say no to anybody. What else we got?
The time we have.
The time. Okay, the time of day. Good, all right. All right, someone said cost. That cost is always a part of everything. Wonderful.
The subject matter.
Subject matter, okay, speakers. I like it. All right, I'm going to throw in the instance of time, I'm just going to throw a last one in there. I don't like the logo. All right. So you notice that when you're trying to solve a problem in a team,
is that at some point in time, things get kind of goofy. People start throwing out ideas that aren't quite serious. And once you get to that point, you know you're ready to move on. And when I say move on, I say take your group of 4 or 5 people, your team, and stop and say, these are our challenges. Does anyone have anything else to say? And if no one has anything, then it's speak now or forever hold your peace. Everyone has had their say, everyone gets to know, and we move on. So step 2 is to pick the biggest challenge. Now, since I'm up here, I'm just going to go ahead and pick it, and I'm going to say locations. Just because it was the first one, we're going to go with locations. So step 2 out of the 6 is to pick your biggest challenge, but define it. Take time to write a whole paragraph, maybe a page, to say what we mean by the challenge of locations is this, this, and this. For tonight, I'm just going to say pretty simply locations. Where are we going to hold this event at? So that was step 1 and step 2. So now let's go on to step 3, which happens to be solutions. So there's a lot of challenges with this event, but we're going to talk about locations. So what's a solution to the locations for IdeaCamp?
Ask the sponsors to host.
Sponsors to host, okay. So we can get hosts. All right, what other solutions do we have that could solve the location problem? And feel free to think outside the box too. A big enough space, okay? Very good. We want a big space. Very good. I was going to say, I heard parking. Now, is that a solution or is that more of a challenge? I might say that it's kind of a challenge. Once we have the location, it's yet another challenge. But with solutions, what we can say is that, well, why not build our own location? Let's build a theater and hold idea camps there. This is big. It's time for solutions. Any other ideas as far as locations are concerned? I know we're pretty in the small, so it doesn't take much to fill this up. All right, very good. So we've talked about solutions. Now, before we pick a solution, it's time to say, okay, does anyone have any other ideas? If the answer is no, and everyone's ready to move on, we go ahead and move on. Now, step 4 happens to be criteria. We want to pick a great solution, but first we want to talk about how would we imagine the perfect solution? What numbers can we put on those solutions? And one of the obvious criteria you could pick is cost. Is it the cheapest? Nope. I think I got a G in there somewhere. All right, so cheap would be one solution, or one criteria to pick a great solution. What might be another criteria to try to pick one of these solutions? Space, okay. So we want, space was not only a solution, but also it can be a criteria. So the amount of space, how many people can we hold? We want to judge on that criteria.
The right atmosphere.
Atmosphere, I like it. All right, so in the interest of time, I'm going to stop there. So now what we want to do is we want to take our 3 solutions and we want to rank them, let's say 1 through 5, based upon this criteria. So if we look at cheap, for the IdeaCamp committee, this is cheap, so I'm going to rate that as a 5. Building our own theater, that is not a cheap solution. And having a big space, that's probably in the middle. So what about having the space, having the large space? Is that a great idea for the hosts? Well, maybe not so much. Having the theater would be the best solution, and having a big space might be in the middle. So then last atmosphere. I'd say if we move to different hosts, that's a great idea. The theater would maybe be right behind it, and a big space would be okay. So what you do is you add all those up. So we got a 13, we got a 10, and we got a 7. So rather than everybody debating what's the best solution, is you pick your criteria, which is step 4. Step 5 is actually doing the numbers, and step 6, the final step, is you have picked your best solution, which is, to solve the location problem, we are going to ask for sponsors to host. So step 6, I'm not going to write anything down, because what step 6 is your action plan. You've decided that you want to improve IdeaCamp. You've decided as a team that location is the biggest challenge, and that solution that you're going to have is to ask your hosts. We got a 5-minute warning. We got hosts to come and do everything. So step 6 is to create that action plan to say, you're going to do step A, you're going to do step B, you're going to do step C. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a conference call to make sure everyone's on track. And then in a month, at our next committee meeting, we're all going to come together and figure out, did we accomplish our solution? We got our 5 minutes. Thank you very much. So with that, that is the 6 steps. And why I like this process so much is because before you move on, is you ask everybody, does anyone have any more ideas? It's great for a competition, because if you've got 2 hours or 24 hours, you've got a time constraint. And because if you get to 2 a.m. in the morning during a competition, someone says, I thought we should have done this, I should have thought we'd done that, let's change it up, then you've scrapped everything you've done so far. So if you get everyone to buy in first before you move on, it really helps with that time constraint, which is great for competitions. In the real world, it can be just as good, because your business is competing against everyone else. So why not put the action plan into place? If it doesn't work, that's all right. Take another half an hour, do it again, and move on to the next step. And as I've been mentioning so far, is that beyond the 6 steps, the most important part is that you do not skip ahead, because someone had mentioned parking as part of almost a challenge of one of the solutions. Well, we were already on step 3. We were talking about solutions now, and that's another challenge, which is a good point, but then that's going backwards in the process. So that was a wonderful example. Thank you very much for saying that. And it gets to the point where you want to make sure that everyone has bought in. It helps everyone compromise. It makes everything cohesive. It helps everyone focus, and it gives you an action plan to move forward. So with that, that is my 6 steps for small teams to help solve big problems. I'll be here the rest of the night. My name is Dan Hinz.